Hello? All right. It sounds like we're live. And you gotta accept over there.
There's Marco calling in.
There we go. All right. Does it sound pretty distorted for you?
No, it sounds excellent.
All right, cool. So what do we want to do? Do we want to actually go through like we're recording the episode, or do you just want to start with the stories and then we can splice in the audio later?
Well, let's talk to some people first. Marco's trying to join in right now.
Marco. Polo. That's too funny. All right, so what we're going to do while we're waiting for Marco to start is kind of go over and review kind of what we want to get out of this. So typically we've done more audio only with podcasts in the past. However, we now are branching out into doing video with Blab.im, which is pretty cool. So InfoSec Sync, what we do is we, kind of review any security happenings in the world today, any information security topics that are kind of at the forefront, and we present them to you, the viewers. We've always wanted to Marco is blocked by the firewall. So there we go. There's story number one. You got to make sure your firewall rules are good to go before you try to connect. But that's all good. If you have anything to say, Marco, or you want to ask questions, go ahead and hit us up on the text version, and we'll be sure to answer any questions that you guys have, or any comments. We'll voice those as well.
Are you guys hearing echoes from us?
How's the audio with everybody listening right now? Is everything sounding good? Good?
Hey, I see Skip. You were able to join. Thanks, man.
Anybody hear anything?
Should be good. Right, Marco? You can hear us? That's why. Don't pay attention to the echo.
Well, I muted mine, so you have to let me know. I'm just going to be talking, so you have to let me know if anybody has any questions or anything.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and hop into our security stories of the week. So bear with us while I bring up our show notes.
This is actually our 23rd episode.
Right.
We've been on a long summer hiatus and a short fall hiatus, but we're back.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and start off. So again, this is our 23rd episode. We're very happy to be here. Kind of new for us. This is our first episode on Blab.im with you guys watching and tuning in, which is great. We hope to, continue every week pretty continuously and stick with it going into the fall and winter months. So that shouldn't be a problem. You should be able to tune in every week and make it kind of a repetitive thing. We greatly appreciate you guys joining us. So let's go ahead and start. All right. So imagine it's 1995 and you're about to put your company's office on the internet, right? Your security has been solid in the past. You've banned people from bringing floppies into work with games. You've installed virus scanners, and you run those file server backups every night. So you set up the internet router and give everyone a IP address. It's not like you're NASA or the Pentagon or something. So what could go wrong? That, in essence, is a security posture of many modern automobiles. A network of sensors and controllers that have been tuned to perform flawlessly under normal use with little more than a firewall. like Marco experienced today. It can hinder a lot of progress. Or in some cases, some automobiles don't even have that. So protecting it from attack once connected to the big, internet world. So this month at 3 separate security conferences, 5 sets of researchers presented proof of concept attacks on vehicles from multiple manufacturers, plus an add-on device that spies on drivers for insurance companies. We've probably all seen, what was it? I'm not even going to name the device, but there are insurance companies that will say, okay, go ahead and plug this into your OBD2 port, and then we'll record, the inputs you give to the vehicle.
We'll give you a discount.
We'll give you a discount, right? So anyways, taking advantage of that always-on cellular connectivity and other wireless vehicle communications to defeat security measures and gain access to the vehicles. And in 3 cases, they gained access to the car's internal network in a way that could take remote control of the vehicle in frightening ways. So while the automakers and telematics vendors with targeted products were largely receptive to this work, in most cases they deployed fixes immediately that patched the attack paths found. Not everyone is happy, in the automobile world. Not all the vehicles that might be vulnerable, including vehicles equipped with mobile devices and a telematics dongle, can be patched easily. Fiat Chrysler suffered a dramatic stock price drop when the video of a Jeep Cherokee exploit and information that the bug could affect more than 1 million vehicles triggered a large-scale recall of Jeep and Dodge vehicles. So all this is play out as the auto industry as a whole is struggling to understand security researchers and their approach to disclosure. Some automakers feel like they're the victim of a hit and run. The industry's kind of insular culture and traditional approach to safety have kept most from collaborating with outside researchers. And their default response to disclosures of security threats have been to make it harder for researchers to work with them. In some cases, car companies have even sued researchers to shut them up. So sticker shock. By contrast, Tesla has embraced the coordinated disclosure policy. The company recently announced a vehicle security bug bounty program that offers $10,000 for reproducible security vulnerabilities. Tesla even participated in the presentation of vulnerabilities discovered by outside researchers in the Tesla S systems at DEF CON, which was cool. I was there. It was awesome. Great company. So the company's chief technology officer, JB, appeared on stage with the researchers who performed the penetration test of the Tesla S. Mark Rogers of Cloudflare and Lookout Security CTO and co-founder Kevin, in order to present them with Tesla challenge coins for their work. But no one from Fiat Chrysler was anywhere near the stage when Charlie Miller and Chris Valasek presented their findings on Uconnect. And it might be before any other car maker makes a move to embrace the security community in wake of the Chrysler recall. It's not like Miller and Valasek caught Fiat Chrysler by surprise. Miller told us that he worked with Fiat Chrysler throughout his many months of research, advising them of what he and Valasek found. The company had already issued a patch to fix the problems, but it was only a voluntary update to be performed using USB. Sprint moved to block remote access to the network connection of Chrysler vehicles that Miller and Valasek, their attacks exploit, just before the pair reviewed research at Black Hat. So they tried to hit it from a network standpoint. So still, it wasn't until after Wired published a video of reporter Andy Greenberg in the driver's seat on an interstate highway reacting to the vehicle's throttle being remotely taken over that Chrysler issued a recall on over 1 million affected vehicles.
Wow.
Miller said that the demonstration for Wired was completely safe. It wasn't nearly as bad as the Wired video made it look, and explaining that he and Valasek had done to Greenberg the same as would happen to any driver during a typical breakdown. Greenberg still had control of the wheel and limited acceleration, according to Miller, and the reporter would have been able to maneuver to his shoulder. But even if these things looked a tad overdramatic, Miller felt that the highway demonstration was needed to make the problem real to the American public and to Chrysler. After all, other researchers funded by DARPA, the same product that had funded previous research by Miller and Valasek, demonstrated the same sort of attack for 60 minutes only a few months earlier before Leslie Saul driving on a closed course in a parking lot. That time, however, the brand of the car was concealed and the test took place on a closed circuit. People could not relate it to the life. So beyond awareness, the video of the researchers shouting they're doomed to Greenberg as he took remote control may have other consequences. at least 2 automakers that plan to announce their new initiative to cooperate with security researchers during DEFCON 23 pulled back in the wake of the Connect disclosure, according to Josh Corman, one of the founders of I Am the Cavalry. This grassroots organization focuses on cybersecurity and public safety issues by lobbying automakers to adopt better software security practices. According to Corman, the news coverage triggered intervention by companies' attorneys who saw the wire video as a reckless stunt. Right now, people are cheering Miller and Valsec as heroes, Corman told us. But from what they don't see are the hidden costs that may have been paid. Right now, they set them back for a little while, or they could have set them back permanently. No one at Ford, GM, and Chrysler would talk to Ars Technica about their strategy for uncovering potential security issues in software that could be used for cyber physical attacks.
Of course.
Acts that could have an impact on the physical world by interfering with the operation of cars. Ford would only provide the following statement.
What did Ford say?
Ford takes cybersecurity very seriously. We invest in security solutions that are built into the product from the outset. We are not aware of any instance in which a Ford vehicle was infiltrated or compromised in the field. Our cybersecurity team routinely monitors, investigates, resolves concerns, and works to mitigate threats. Our communications and entertainment system features a different architecture than what was hacked, but we are interested in learning more about the Chrysler Uconnect, GM OnStar, and Tesla issues, and whether there are additional enhancements that we can make in our vehicles. Our security team has developed hardware and software safeguards as well as processes to help mitigate remote access risks in all of our vehicles, whether they feature embedded cellular connections or not. For his part, Miller said he is done with car hacking for now. He's achieved his goals, but there are plenty of other security researchers in line to try to help the industry. Corman believes auto manufacturers need to work with them because of the number of potential security bugs, and it is only going to grow as vehicles continue to add software-based functionality and connectivity in the internet.
So, Matt, tell me, so put all that into a layman's terms for some of our listeners and viewers.
Like as
what actually happened?
So what ended up happening with the Uconnect hack was actually very interesting. So through the actual entertainment, or most people see it as a GPS, in the center of the vehicle, but it actually has a lot of functionality. Not only with service functions of the car, with looking at various TPMS functions, which is the tire pressure monitoring system, having navigation functionality, as well as connecting to the internet to possibly pull down songs, or a lot of functionality, update the maps. There's a lot of things that can happen through that center, entertainment center. So what Valsec and Miller did was basically it was dual homed. So it was homed on the internal network of the car itself, the Jeep in this case. And they were able to get onto the network by having a Kyocera, or I think it was basically a cellular phone that was on the same network as the Uconnect systems were on. And they were actually able to get into the Uconnect itself in the vehicle. And when they got on that, they were able to kind of replay CAN bus messages. And with that, just like anything else, the protocol that's internal to the car accepts whatever signals that it's given. There's no error checking. There's no firewalls. There's nothing that normalizes signals internal to the car. And there are things like electronic power steering, electronic brakes. There's a lot of electronic functions of the car that use a servo and a sensor and some mechanism to give the signal out. And when you're on that network and you're able to replay those messages, that can be devastating, because then I can tell the car to turn right when you really want the car to go straight, and override any signals that are on that central network. So that's in a nutshell what happened. They were able to get onto a dual home device that was, homed on the internet and also was connected to the central network in the car, and they were able to replay those messages, and it had a devastating effect because the car had no error checking. It said brake, and the car braked. And they said accelerate because the car is drive-by-wire. it accelerated. So there were a lot of things there. I think it was a rude awakening for the auto industry, but at the same time, when do you think this was going to happen? Cars are getting more advanced. The consumers have a higher expectation, and all it takes is for one auto manufacturer to introduce a feature or function or increased functionality, then all other auto manufacturers are going to follow suit to stay current. So that's essentially what we're seeing in the auto industry.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So you guys hear the audio okay, or is it still echoing? So Skip can't hear us. But everyone else can. They say there's an echo. Meanwhile, Vic walked in with pizza.
Perfect timing. Is there any way that we can go through? Can we take the mic down and just have it as an input to your computer? Can we just have one central input to your computer?
Oh, let me check.
You know what? Unplug your earphones. Let's just use your speaker and your stuff on yours.
It's loud.
Okay.
Sound better, guys? Or are you still getting an echo?
Well, I'm trying. That's funny. I'm trying to mess with the input and output on my system to have it so that there's no feedback. But right now, it sounds like there isn't any feedback, and I kind of turned off the microphone port on my system. So that kind of gets better.
All right, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to see if you can turn off the mic on yours, and we'll just use this. Since this is the main one.
Yeah, mic is off on mine. Good.
Can you hear, guys? Is it better? How's that sound?
Hello? Yeah, that should be good. No, there's still some reverb. Yep. Skip was right. So do you have your mic on? Turn your mic on.
Are you?
And you can take this all the way down. Hello? There we go. Okay, cool. Now, can everybody hear us now? Does everything sound good? All right, perfect. Cool. All right, so
Awesome.
All right, so we left off on the.
So we're talking about some car hacks, and I saw some of you guys came in a little bit late. But you want to talk about that just real quick again?
Yeah, so basically we were talking about the various hacks on automotive vehicles, vehicles that we've seen in the recent months. More so the famed, it was Charlie Miller and Chris Valasek kind of hacking the Uconnect on the Jeeps. And we were going over the disclosure methods that could be employed and how auto manufacturers can team with security researchers to kind of find different methods and manners to secure their product, which is a car. So what we were kind of reviewing was how the Uconnect hack actually worked with Chris, Charlie Miller and Chris Balasek using the Uconnect system itself to replay the CAN bus messages on the end. Down the road, and your car ends up turning left or turning right, and you have an issue because you're in a ditch at a minimum, or you could be seriously hurt or injured, or something a lot worse could happen. So we were just reviewing that and identifying the various components of that and what was happening.
So what's this about the crumple zones?
So yeah, there's in our show notes here, there's something else I wanted to review. So let me look at that and review it again. Okay. So yeah. All right. With crumple zones, basically, it used to be that car hacking basically meant voiding the factory warranty. Anyone who's watched Top Gear knows that car enthusiasts and tuners have used electronic hacks such as launch control devices to bypass environmentally friendly settings and engine control systems for some time. Making these changes can, if you don't know what you're doing, break your engine. But that's not the sort of thing the general driving public has had to worry about. The attack surfaces of cars that get the most attention are the ones that are designed to keep people from driving away with the cars that they don't own. So that's electronic keyless entry, or locks and vehicle immobilizers that use low-power radio to detect the presence of a valid car key, or RFID, or whatever the case is, before the car is allowed to start. Both of these types of systems, which use cryptographic keys transmitted by radio from a key or key fob, have been targeted by researchers. Engine immobilizers for a number of luxury brands were successfully attacked as part of a study by researchers at Radboud University.
Cool.
And it was suppressed by Volkswagen's lawyers for 2 years, so they weren't able to disclose the fact that they, had found a way to attack these systems, successfully attack the systems, and gain access to vehicles. So remote keyless entry systems have also been targeted in a number of ways, including signal amplification attacks and brute force crypto breaking, as detailed in research by Sovo Césaire. So there are still areas of potential radio hacking that haven't been fully explored. For example, tire pressure monitoring systems that use radio communications to alert low tire pressure.
You can hack those.
You can hack those.
You could put somebody's tire out and not really, right?
Yeah, not only that, but that's an attack surface for me to get into the systems of the car, because typically the TPMS system in some vehicles will actually reduce the speed of the vehicle.
So we could just be war driving down the street, pull up next to a Tesla, get into his CAN bus,
and wreak havoc. Yeah,
and wreak havoc. Turn on his air, drain his battery,
and it's even worse because I'm sure most of our listeners have heard about Shodan HQ and some of the ways to enumerate different exploits and things that are out there. Systems that are vulnerable and susceptible to exploits and attack. So, if you were to scan a number of systems and look for a certain port, right, or a certain service that's running on that would identify it as a vehicle, then I can start to say, all right, let me craft a mass exploit over the internet that's going to get into the vehicle, move laterally, escalate privilege, and then execute this code, these CAN bus messages on the network. That could be very devastating. So that's even scarier. I mean, as far as like having a Tesla S and somebody pulling up next to you and doing something, that's a targeted attack.
Yeah.
You have a lot more things to worry about. Either you have a kid, that just bought a hack RF and they're playing around, or you actually have like a nation state type of deal where you need to like be James Bond and get the hell out of here. So I'm more afraid of, the first thing I mentioned with somebody being able to enumerate and tag these different vehicles based upon their signature and how they look on the internet as a presence, and knowing the attack surface. And once they get on, the easy part is manipulating those CAN bus messages. So anyways, kind of can continue on with this particular section. So the systems could be targeted by hijackers to potentially fool a driver into pulling off the road or blow out tires on a trailer if an attacker successfully fooled them. So 3 of the exploits discussed at the conferences last month were focused on simply gaining access to vehicles. Ars Technica reported last week Dutch researchers were finally were able to present almost the full findings of their research on defeating engine immobilizer systems used in different cars from Volkswagens and other luxury brands as well, to include Lamborghini and Audi, at the Usenix security conference in Washington. At DEF CON, Sammy.
Mm-hmm. You were there, right?
Yeah, I was there. Unveiled 2 potential attacks on auto security. One called Roll Jam, which is a targeted remote keyless entry systems on cars by performing a type of man-in-the-middle attack against the rolling keys used on the systems, kind of like your garage door opener. By jamming the reception of the signal in the vehicle's receiver, Roll Jam device could record the attempts made by the key fob to authenticate and then rebroadcast the first of them to the car to unlock it. So basically, it sits in the middle. You hit your, hit your button once, nothing happens. You hit it again, it records that code, and then it just jumps one ahead of that, right? So they're able to get into your vehicle, start the vehicle, whatever they need to do.
So Alfredo had a question earlier. He said, question, car hacks work?
So when I say work, yes, they're functional. It's something that can happen. Is it going to happen to normal people? Yes, it's going to happen to normal people if auto manufacturers do not take security seriously. They're an organization that has had a systems and software development lifecycle that they haven't had to embed security for a very long time. So is this something that I expect tomorrow to see on the news, that multiple cars have been hacked based upon a vulnerability that an auto manufacturer didn't patch? Probably not. The maturity of the security research community hasn't reached that of a point where they're doing active security research on vehicles and you have a mass number of individuals doing that research. You just have a finite number of individuals doing that research.
Right.
What I think this means for people like me who like cars, I tune cars. I literally cars typically with the ECU, the engine control unit, they're coded in hex. So you can actually go in and change the hex on that system. And that's actually the first time I really found out that I was, somebody who liked code per se, because I would go in, I had a Civic at the time.
Go back to your Blab because he's asking you more.
Okay, that's a very good question, Alfredo. So basically, how new do the cars have to be? I actually think, how old do the cars have to be?
I want an old one that doesn't have anything in it.
Yeah, you want like a pre-1980. Preferably roll down windows, and you don't have to worry about it. So
carburetor.
Right, carbureted. The problem is the newer the cars are becoming. I know. Analog car, yeah, absolutely. So the problem is the newer the cars are, the more functionality they want to cram into the vehicle. And that is additional software. That's software that probably has bugs in it, and then we're able to generate exploits on. And to add to it from a network standpoint, now if somebody could pull up next to my car, oh yeah, 72 Dodge, I like that. So the thing is, if somebody pulls up next to my car and they're able to do something, that's one thing. But if a car is connected to the internet, that increases the attack surface tremendously. So yeah, exactly. So you want a car without Wi-Fi or any way to talk out. That's what you want. So perfect. So the answer to your question is any car that, doesn't have any attack surface, such as being connected, via Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, OnStar, satellite radio, because you could use satellite radio receivers and get on there. The FM and AM are fine. I think we're good there. And then an aux cable, that's all you need, right? To plug into your phone. Then you're pretty safe. So Yeah, so I don't want to scare anybody and say, oh, man, watch out. But at the same time, we do need to pay attention to what's occurring, you know, in the automotive industry because it affects all of us. One thing I do want to cover, though, and I wanted to make sure we'll once I cover this, we'll be done with the car story and we'll move on to something else more exciting. So one thing I do want to cover is how do you fix these things, right? So when something actually happens, how do you get to the point where you don't have to go into the dealership to get them to reflash the car and you're there for 2 hours? Because let's face it, that's inconvenient. Well, right now with the Uconnect hack, they actually do that. The only way for them to put new firmware onto the car and have it run onto the car is to have you drive in and they plug something in, they put new code on the car, and you drive off, right? Cars, if they want to be connected to the internet, they need to be connected to the internet over secure protocols. They need to be using some sort of encryption. They need to be able to be upgraded from a software and hardware standpoint. So there needs to be loose coupling that's utilized when building these cars and deploying this product to consumers. But they also need to make it easy for you to get updates to the vehicle, so it's not as inconvenient to the end user, to the consumer. Now, with that said, it's also, with convenience, no, and I'll get into that in a second. You kind of have to because you avoid a warranty if you don't let them, but I'm going to go over 2 key things that I think everybody should kind of keep in mind. It may be going a little over the top, but it's something I wanted to mention because we have a lot of people in here that like security. And I like talking about security, so why not? So, what's up?
No, go ahead.
Oh, see, Nick's trying to cut me off. No, but basically, that's funny. All right, so basically, if we entrust an auto manufacturer to update the system, and we can do that remotely, that's perfect. That's a great step forward. But with convenience comes insecurity, right? There's a balance that's there. So basically, we need to be very careful, and there needs to be some sort of, when I say we need to be very careful, auto manufacturers need to be very careful in the implementation and ensure that they're putting their best foot forward with doing, code checking before it's deployed on the vehicle, for instance. So that's something that we need to look at. Now, another thing that, I kind of want to cover really quickly is a lot of you have Department of Motor Vehicles where you have VEIP inspections that you have to submit to every 2 years. I know, we're based out of Maryland here. We're a Baltimore-based company, so, you can see that on the internet if you go to our site. So we're here in the Maryland area. Now, I will say that we do have VEIP inspection that occurs every 2 years. Everybody here in this room, me, Nick, and Vic, we have to bring our cars in to get plugged in. And they check it to see if there's any, error codes or if it sets readiness codes. That's why they say drive it for 2 weeks before you bring it in. And then we pay our $14 and we're good. If we have a check engine light or anything like that, that's a no-go situation. You have to still pay the $14 because, the DMV wants their money. But then you have to go get that thing fixed, whether it's a catalytic converter, a PCV valve, an IACV, related malfunction. You have to get those things fixed. Now, if you look at those systems that they are performing that test on, it's dual homed, right? The first home is being able to plug into your vehicle, right, and do some checking. Now, it doesn't necessarily write anything to your car there, but I almost can bet that it has the capability, because your car is RAM, it's not ROM, right? It has the ability to get something onto that CAN bus network, right, through the ECU. Because they plug into the OBD2 port, the OBD2 port's connected to the ECU. Now, the other home of that system that they're doing the testing on is what? Can you take a guess? Credit cards. They accept payment, right? So when I accept payment on the same system, and it's running Windows XP, or Windows 95 at best, what's it connected to? It's connected to credit card verification system, which is connected to the internet, right? So is anybody looking at those things right now? Probably not. But as cars become more advanced and we have that functionality where you can bring the car into the dealer to get reflashed, right? I mean, that's something that we need to look at as far as what is the exposure level of something that we use in everyday life, whether it be a laptop, a cell phone, a car, a Nest thermostat to keep your house at, a certain temperature, or, the alarm system. We need to look at those various things and see what the exposure levels are. And you have to take those types of things personally. So, yeah, exactly. So people in the chat are, I guess, agreeing and saying that they have certain manufacturers that they agree with, certain ones that they don't. So there's a number of things that we can look at and kind of identify as being vulnerabilities right now. And I guess we can jump on the next topic because I don't want to take up all of our time talking about cars, even though I can talk about them all day. But, yeah. So let's see.
So I believe our next topic is about information security at major universities, right?
Yes. That's a good topic. Do you want to take us away?
Yeah, I think this one is MIT ranking high in bad security at some major universities. So schools scores lowest among 485 colleges and universities in security scorecard scan. One of the most prestigious schools in IT also ranks first among its peers in information security, first among the worst, that is. In a recent security survey of 485 colleges and universities around the world with 1,000 or more public internet protocol addresses, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology ranked at the bottom, earning just above an overall failing grade. The assessment performed by the information security assessment company's security scorecard gave MIT a nearly failing grade, putting the school in the basement below New Mexico State University in Cambridge.
Wow.
One of the most prestigious and recognized schools of higher learning in the world, MIT is not displaying strength in its security posture. This is what the researchers reported. With nearly 80,000 IP addresses discovered in the platform, the Cambridge College is showing a plethora of security risks, vulnerabilities, weaknesses. To receive an overall D grade, an organization needs to rank poorly in many of the 10 categories captured in the scorecard. In this case, MIT has 4 F grades and 2 D grades out of 10. Based on the data collected in late August, they scored low in IP reputation, a score based on incidents of malware detected coming from the IP range of the institution. MIT had an average malware infection duration on IP addresses scanned of 1,678 days, which is higher than 80% of the education vertical, the researchers noted. Second thing they scored low in was network security, a score based on the number of vulnerable services running directly exposed to the internet, based on a scan that audits version numbers of exposed software and open ports on those systems, correlated with a database of known exploits according to them. Next one would be hacker chatter, score based on the frequency with which the school was mentioned in hacker forums. That's not good. An amount of user credential, email addresses, and other breach data circulating on those forums over the observed period. Another thing they scored bad on, password exposure. The degree to which students, faculty, and employees are using weak passwords. The score was in part based on the user credential data discovered in the hacker chatter. Our signals and sensors found 6 credentials for accounts associated with student and employee email discovered in 4 data leaks. Next one is patching. We all love patching. Yeah. So the patching cadence. This is how quickly known vulnerabilities in software are patched as they are announced over the period of the scan. Also, suspectability to social engineering. But MIT wasn't alone in weakness on patching software. For 7 of the bottom 10 schools in the survey, there were 51 or more individual pieces of software that were unpatched. In one of the most extreme cases in the bottom grouping, the platform detected 67 insecure software instances. And saving MIT from an overall failing grade, however, were the school's A grades in web application security, which is always good, the health of its DNS records, and the quality of its endpoint security.
We don't want the Stanford issue. Remember Stanford with the Indian hacker?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is really, disturbing, but then they're getting A's on web application, DNS records are secure, and endpoint security is good. but it seems like all the other things, maybe it's the students. So ARS, that we got this from, reached out to MIT for comment on the survey, but the school was unable to supply a response in time for the publication. So if we hear more on that, we're going to keep you guys updated on that one as well. So for another story, some vulnerabilities compounded by FireEye software running as root on Apache. You guys might have heard that earlier this week. FireEye is a publicly traded security firm, popular, that regularly finds and reports vulnerabilities in Adobe Flash and Apple's iOS and Google's Android operating system. But when a security researcher, his name is Felix Wilhelm, found 5 critical flaws in their malware protection system, the company went to court to obtain an injunction barring the disclosure of some of the technical details. And why shouldn't they? They're one of the top information security companies, endpoint security companies, malware companies. They own Mandiant. We know Sony called Mandiant to help them out on their breach and a lot of other breaches. The move is generating howls of protest among security professionals who argue that FireEye, of all companies, should know better than to stifle the free flow of vulnerability information. They point out that ERNW, the German consultancy that found the vulnerabilities, privately notified FireEye of the findings in April, more than 4 months before FireEye filed court documents to prevent Wilhelm from providing technical details related to the flaws. In the future, it would be better if researchers publicly reported their findings first rather than give private notice. On Thursday, the founder, Enno Ray, also criticized the move. So his criticality consisted of, we can only speculate what the intentions are from their side. In general, we consider it an inappropriate strategy to sue researchers responsibly reporting security vulnerabilities for the protocol without asking for money or anything else. So that's true. He didn't ask for money.
Right.
He was just showing, hey, you guys,
just released it.
You are the top. What's going on with this?
You should be leading by example.
Yeah. Wilhelm spoke Thursday at the 44Con conference in London. One of the presentation slides Wilhelm displayed during his talk was censored to comply with the injunction, which was issued by a court in Hamburg, Germany. Rather than providing technical information that Wilhelm said was necessary to fully understand how the now patched vulnerabilities work, the slide was blacked out except for the words architecture and rejected. So out of this whole PowerPoint slide, just those 2 words. FireEye representatives told IDG News that the injunction was necessary to prevent the leakage of technical information that could be used against people using its products, which is smart and good for the company. We were not willing to expose any of the proprietary information that would put our business and customers at risk. And we know some of our clients are customers of FireEye. Under German law, they were also not allowed to release intellectual property that was not theirs. At least some of the 5 vulnerabilities are compounded by the fact that some FireEye software runs with root privileges on top of the Apache web server. One flaw, according to Forbes, allowed attackers to open a backdoor by sending booby-trapped emails to a customer, but the vulnerabilities have since been fixed. So FireEye, was that a good thing they did or bad? I think
they were trying to protect themselves.
Yeah, and their customers.
Which is fine. I mean, I think that was a responsible thing to do. But at the same time, if you're a security company, you're getting, there's certainly, you're not getting paid to do it. But one of the things you need to look at is what's happening internally to your enterprise environment that runs the security services for, other customers.
Hold on, Geomeek, that was Matt taking off his motorcycle boots.
Yeah. Sorry, they get kind of hot. So basically, with FireEye or Mandiant or any of these companies, if you're going to come into my environment and I'm going to pay you a lot of money for you to tell me, whether it's post, incident response, incident handling, or just regular vulnerability, blue team vulnerability assessment. If you come into my environment, I expect you to lead by example. So if I see you in the news as not having secure tools or practices. It's kind of like the shoemaker has no shoes. I understand that, but at the same time, you need to take security pretty seriously. And any, way, shape, or form that you have negative press can definitely affect other individuals using your services. So I think it is smart what they did. You got to protect you and your customers first and foremost. But at the same time, in the end, I think it hurt them because now they say that, we do take security research seriously, but at the same time, you can't really expose, things that we're doing wrong or things that, we deem as being, a critical vulnerability. You should be able to take it, dish it out and take it at this, take criticism from other security researchers within the industry.
So speaking of motorcycles, Skip had a question. He said, motorcycles immune from car hacking? ?
Actually, yes. And the reason why is because with the motorcycles, let's look at them. You have steering that happens via the triple tree and the handles that are on there. You have a drive-by cable throttle, so it's not an electronic throttle. You have an ECU that's in most bikes nowadays that are modern and have fuel injection, but at the same time, they have no attack surface. I mean, you can lift the seat and get connection to the diagnostic board, but unless you modify the bike and put a Bluetooth dongle to get engine readouts and things like that, or you install like a power commander that could have Trojanized software on it, something like that, that's when you become, it becomes a risk. So, yeah, I don't think that. Oh wow, that's AT&T sues former employees over phone unlocking hack schemes. That's pretty good. Yeah, Geo posted that one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So either way, yeah. So bikes in a nutshell, are pretty immune. However, at the same time, you're exposed as an individual riding the bike. So you're kind of taking your safety into your own hands there, and any decisions or if you're not paying attention on a bike, it's probably more detrimental to you than if you're riding in a car and you have that buffer around you. So very cool, Geo. We'll cover that if we have a little bit more time, which we should. I don't see why we wouldn't. But very good post. Awesome. So let's go over Android ransomware. Why not, right? I just upgraded to iOS 9. I'm an iPhone lover. I know most of you, may hate me or you may like it, depending upon what you like. But at the same time, I have no qualms with putting down Android. We got Vic in the house right here. Vic, you gotta come in the shot, man.
What's going on?
There he is. So he is real.
I do like the Android.
That's funny.
So are you guys going to start busting on Android now?
Yeah, we are.
Oh,
Yep.
Man.
That sucks. So new Android ransomware that locks out victims by changing the lock screen.
Geo said, please do.
Yeah. So infected owners must choose between paying $500 and performing factory resets. So malicious.
No, Vic brought the pizza, so we're like taking turns eating.
Yeah, we don't want to eat on screen.
He goes to Costco every day. He's like the CEO of Costco, and he brings in. He went twice today, so he brings in Costco
ask Vic
pizza.
to pick me up some Techron because it comes in what a pack of like six pack. I can't fit that on my bike. Yeah, the entire tank. Right? So, anyways. Malicious apps that disable Android phones until owners pay a hefty ransom are growing increasingly malevolent and sophisticated, as evidenced by a newly discovered sample that resets device pin locks and advanced that requires a factory reset, which sucks. So, dubbed Android or lockerpin.a as the malware strain, the app first tricks inexperienced users into granting its device administrator privileges. To achieve this, it overlays a bogus patch installation window on top of an activation notice. When the target clicks on the continue button, they really grant the malicious app elevated privileges that allow it to make changes to the Android settings. From there, locker pin sets or resets the pin and unlocks the screen lock, effectively requiring users to perform a factory reset to gain control over the device. By contrast, earlier forms of Android ransomware generally were thwarted, usually by deactivating the administrator privileges and then uninstalling the app after the infected device is booted into safe mode. After clicking on the button, so the ransomware I'm thinking of was like a bootleg CryptoLocker, you remember, for Android, where it was, I'm thinking of where they overlaid and they said you're wanted by the FBI. Remember that?
I got a funny story about that, by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah, and they just put a new JPEG in anyways. So after clicking on the button, the user's device is doomed. Lucas Stefanko, a researcher with antivirus provider ESET, wrote in a blog post on last Thursday. Okay. So the Trojan app has obtained administrator rights silently and can now lock the device. Even worse, it sets a new PIN for the lock screen. Not long after, the user will be prompted to pay $500 ransom for allegedly viewing and harboring for forbidden pornographic material, which is the same FBI theme that we saw on a previous previous exploit that was out there. So experienced Android users would likely be suspicious of the fake update window at the top of this post, but it is entirely plausible new users would fall for them, or individuals that are using phones that haven't used phones their entire life, or whatever the case is, they may not know. So once the continue button is pressed, the app will acquire administrator rights. From there, it will change the PIN and periodically continue to overlay a fake window in an attempt to hold onto the elevated privileges. It's the first known Android lock screen ransomware to set a phone's PIN lock. Because it requires non-paying victims to factory reset their phones, it causes them to lose all of their data, unless you back it up. So Covert Remote Access Trojan was built using the newly discovered DIY toolkit. So at the moment, the app is notable mostly for its innovation that shows rather than the real-world threat it poses. That's because it's disturbed in third-party app stores and masquerades as an app for serving pornography. Still, it wouldn't be surprising to see this type of app evolve further. If it were to find its way to the official Google Play market, as happened regularly with malicious Android apps, such as the flashlight app that we saw previously, it could represent a real threat for a much larger number of people. So, should I just go into Dendroid?
Yeah, because it's got to do with the same thing.
Yeah, it's kind of has to do.
But hold on real quick. So I'm getting my bathroom remodeled, and it just got finished today. But one of the main guys that's doing it is this guy from I think he's from Ecuador, right? And he interrupted me one day. He's like, Mr. Nick, help me with my phone. I can't do anything. I can't swipe it. I was like, what's going on? And he's got the FBI thing, right? So he's thinking he needs to go to the cops, and because he's a green card holder, right? And he doesn't want to get in trouble and sent back, right? So he's like, oh my God, what do I do? I said, what were you doing? He's like, I was on Facebook and I clicked on this link, and of course the link was some chick's booty, right? Yeah. And he downloaded the malware, got on his phone, and totally said, hey, pay us this amount or whatever. But I saw it. I had a good laugh, swiped it off, and he was so thankful that he gave me some extra work for free.
Wow.
Right? That I didn't have to pay for. But, because we're American citizens, it was funny to me. But he was like, oh, my God, I almost drove down to the police station and turned it in.
Wow. So how did you end up taking it off? Did you just follow some instructions you found online?
Yeah, I went to Google and of course, the good old Google was like, hey, bring it up in safe mode, bring up what's running right there, delete app, done. Okay. Simple.
Cool. So, and then this exploit, or this attack, as I should say, didn't have that.
Welcome, Harry.
Hey, Harry, what's up? So this attack actually, kind of did something a little bit different. It didn't allow you to go into safe mode.
No, totally locks your phone, and you can't swipe away from it. Well, you can swipe away, but it comes back.
Yeah, it's not like Tinder where you can swipe left or right.
You can't swipe left or right like on Tinder.
That's funny.
He knows all about that.
No, I don't. I'm married. So let's see. Let's go up next. So Dendroid. All right, let's talk about that. So malware.
Hold on. Look what Skip said. True story. There was a local police department that got ransomware on a workstation, and they paid it. Skip, I heard that too. Did we do a story on that? We covered that a while back. We had a good laugh on that one, Skip.
Yeah, I think we were saying like, who are the? Oh man, we were having a good time with that one. I forgot we were talking.
Yeah, go to our website and listen to the past podcast. You can hear us having fun with that and a whole bunch of other stories.
Yep. I'll try to find out what episode we covered then, and I'll post it up on Twitter.
So did the press.
Yep. Everybody's getting attacked. So, all right. Malware designed to take over cameras and record audio enters the Google Play Store. So covert remote access Trojans were built using the newly discovered DIY toolkit. So the scourge of the remote access Trojan, those predatory apps that use web microphones and cameras to surreptitiously spy on victims, has formally entered the Android arena. Not only have researchers found a covert rat briefly available for download on the official Google Play Store, they have also detected a full-featured toolkit for sale on the underground forums that can make it easy for other peeping toms to do the same thing. So the specific rat in the Google Play was described as a legitimate app called Parental Control. That's scary. That's very scary because now it's targeting parents trying to take care of their kids and make sure that they're using the phone properly. But
I use Net Nanny.
Yeah,
that's safe.
So I don't have any nannies. I don't have kids, so that's good. So according to Mark Rogers, the principal security researchers at Lookout Mobile, a provider of the anti-malware software for Android phones, which I advocate downloading. My wife has Android, unfortunately, and we use Lookout on her phone. So that's cool. So he doesn't know exactly how long it was available on the Google servers, but he believes it wasn't long. It was downloaded 10 to 50 times. The Parental Control Trojan was built using Dendroid, which is a newly discovered software development toolkit that sells for about $300. Dendroid provides an impressive suite of features, including all the tools to build the command and control infrastructure to control the Ratify phones and receive audio and video captured from their mics and cameras. Dendroid also allows attackers to intercept, block, or send SMS messages on compromised phones, download pictures and browser histories, and open a dialog box that asks for passwords. It includes a binder function that allows malicious codes to be attached, bound, or bound into otherwise useful or innocuous apps. So Dendroid also gives apps the ability to evade Bouncer, which is Google's cloud-based service that scours the Android market for malicious apps. Dendroid apps do this by including code that defeats emulation code Bouncer uses to log and understand the behavior of apps. It's analyzing. So Dendroid's anti-emulation capabilities prevent apps from carrying out any suspicious or nefarious activities during the Bouncer scan, allowing them to evade its watchful eye. Quite like if you have an exploit that's only bound to a particular browser, you look at the user agent string, right? So same type of mentality here. Actually a better comparison would be if you had malware that could only run on a system. It can't really run in a VM, and it checks to see if it's using a VM NIC or something like that. It looks for some indicators in a virtual machine. Same thing here. Bouncer goes around the Play market as an emulator, pulling in the software, running it, and providing a result if it's malicious or if it's benign. And in this case, it's able to look benign, which is scary. So in a blog post, Lookout's Rogers continued, this toolkit is different from the majority of custom Android malware solutions in other ways as well. Most of these solutions typically offer a few pieces of code for the wannabe malware author to insert an innocent target application. More sophisticated features, such as command and control of the infected devices, is then left to the operator to implement. Dendroid, on the other hand, offers a full command and control infrastructure with a control panel, every bit as feature-rich as some of the more sophisticated Russian botnets. So Dendroid on Vimeo. So Rogers told Ars that he downloaded the Parental Control app and identified it as containing the DNA of the Dendroid toolkit. In tests, the apps ran without crashing and appeared to do what it was supposed to do, including connecting the control servers it was configured to talk to without any overt signs as to what was happening. In Google's defense, the company does a good job of catching malicious titles submitted to the Play Store, and in the event of misses, it quickly removes Trojans as soon as they become known. With no more than 50 downloads of parental control, it is possible that the app had a few, if any, victims. Google also endows Android phones with the ability to be purged of installed apps that have been later discovered to be harmful. That said, the instance of the Google's official Play Store hosting malicious apps is a regular occurrence that should make people think twice about trusting specific apps, especially those that are relatively new and haven't been downloaded many times. It's unclear if parental control did everything the purveyors of Dendroid advertised.
Right.
The fact that an app on the Google servers contained Dendroid spawned code and connected to suspicious control servers should be enough to give users pause. So, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I think that Google had a promising software development ideology and methodology when they first started. They wanted to create a platform that anybody could code on, and they could submit applications that they found useful that they created to the Google Play Store. But as with any convenience comes insecurity. So Bouncer was supposed to be a way that they could mitigate that particular vulnerability, if you want to call it that. Any malware author is going to be able to catch on to the methods of which you're going to detect if it's malware. In order to make it more effective, they're going to subvert whatever that is. So I'm ordering a vacuum too, iPhone 7. That's good, yeah. Yeah.
So does anyone have any questions or want to come on video and ask us any questions or talk about any information security things you're working on? Anyone? We have more stories, but we're actually past our hour, so I don't know if these guys want to stay on and listen to us talk some more.
Yeah, we'll answer some questions here if you guys have any.
No problem, Gio.
Yeah, no problem, Gio. Thanks for tuning in. Skip, you know what? If you want to come out one day, if you're local to Maryland, come on out. We got some pizza for you. Oh, man. What conference is in Chicago?
I think ISSA was doing one.
There's another one. It's not 4-4 conference.
The IC Squared conference?
No, there's a few ones. Yeah, if we ever make it out to Chicago, we gotta have. And Chicago's the best
Chicago.
pizza. Yeah.
Chicago.
So, all right. Well, this is probably a good spot to stop.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Cool. So, thank you guys for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.
We're actually we're gonna kind of we're over an hour, so we're gonna cut it off. But this and other episodes are available at infosexinc.com. So please check it out. We're also on iTunes. So if you type in InfoSecSync, we have 22.
Thanks,
plus this one will be 23. And thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll be here same place, same time next week. And we'll be putting something out. So talk to you guys then.
All right. Thanks for joining.
All right. See you guys.